People say less is more. At Red Barn, we think less is better. It's what you won't find that sets our natural premium pet food apart. No byproducts, no corn or soy, no fillers. Just the natural ingredients your pets need to live the healthy life they deserve. Look at the label. We want you to. Red Barn Naturals Pet Food. Simply the best. Find it in your local pet specialty store. Visit redbarninc.com/coupon to save $1 off your first can.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for listening. This is The Golden Truth, Raw and Real, and I am Linda Summers.
Welcome, welcome. This is Sharon Andrea. Welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody. So today's topic is Love Consciousness. It's part 2. And before we get started, if anybody has any questions, please call in to 347-850-8423. And if you are out of the country, you can dial 001-347-850-8423. So, Love Consciousness Part 2. So, I don't know. Sharon, we talked earlier today, and I think we should really kind of go from there because I think it's a really important, what we were talking about today.
Yes.
About this whole thing of really what's been happening with you, a lot more so lately, well, more so than you than me, but as, just a lot of stuff that's been going on. And so all this emotion and, this really kind of spurred from that movie that I had sent you, Thrive, and, this kind of started a dialogue for us to be talking about, which I think is really important for people to know and understand. We talked about mission, so it's everybody's got this mission to be able to do something. It's my mission. I've got to go out there and save the world. We've got to change things and all this other stuff. And so what you and I were talking about, and mainly you were talking about, was really coming back to love. So I think that's where we really want to go tonight. What do you think?
Absolutely, and it's not only just the mission thing, but also, I've been saying it also that experience is the greatest teacher. And a lot of times, most of the time when I do talk about something, it's based on the experience and the observation that I'm making. And the very first show I said that if the whole world was making love, everything would just shatter away, all the issues, the problems, everything. And as much as, for some people they might say, well, I don't understand and that doesn't make sense because I have this to deal with, I got my bills to pay, I have this riding up my ass, all these things going on. And I'm telling you from my own experience, I've been making observation of myself for the past several months when it comes to the human psychic. When I say the human psychic, the emotions, the feelings, and everything culminated together, one of the greatest, biggest thing in the world that has been an issue is the love center. And I'm talking about not just say, oh, I'm in love with myself and I have self-love, but a lot of times there's some people that throw away the aspect of being in love with someone else. And I'm talking about with your true love, not just being in a relationship that is not healthy. And when we are not in love, that's when the chaos starts. And it's a fact and it's the truth, and I've been seeing, I've been observing it. More people are just continuously discussing the elections, the problems, the this, the that, and they get off of love. And when there is no balance within yourself and a balance of being able to focus on love, or someone is heartbroken, the biggest aspect of it is through love. Am I correct, Linda?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I like what you said. We were talking earlier today that we leave love last, that we have to do everything else and love is last. But I want to go back to what you said because we talked about this earlier, and I know the listeners are going to say, well, are there some people out there, like I said today, there's some people who don't even desire to have a relationship. They're like, because with all the things that are happening, we're busy, we're trying to get our careers, we don't have time for, I just talked to my girlfriend today, and she's like, I moved into a new place. I don't have time to be on Match or online dating. I don't have time for guys right now. I got to get my house in order. I got to get my job. I've got to get all this other stuff. So I think there's a lot of people out there that are having these experiences, or they don't want to be with anybody. They're very content being by themselves. I know a lot of gentlemen and women who are in their 50s who are very content being by themselves. And I'm not saying that's right.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know they may feel that they're content by themselves, but then usually there's still a part deep down in their soul that there's still something missing. Anytime anything comes up missing, that's when the chaos starts. There's always something missing. Even today I thought about how I miss my son and I miss the love of my life, and then I said, God, something always comes up missing, because when we're not connected in some way to do with who we're in love with or being in love or something, there is always something that starts to happen. Things start to shut down, the emotions, the feelings, the thoughts. And when we are in love, things start to happen magically. And I'm not talking about the doing, because you said your friend, she's doing this and she's doing that, but where's the beingness? You see, because eventually at some point there's always some type of loneliness that comes in, and that connection gets lost along the way with all of that, you see. And it's important for people to understand where all the issues of the world, everything that's been spiraling for centuries, that is where it has started from, because naturally the natural law is being in love. That's the natural law, because we are love. We are love. Yeah.
Well, that's why history has repeated itself, because we keep falling into the same patterns, the same consciousness. And if all of us are thinking the same thing and we get caught up in the fear of the gas prices, oh, my gosh, like you talked about, the election, everybody's focused on the election. So I feel what we're really saying here is that wherever we're focused on, we're going to create more of that. So how can we create? We have to learn to take our thought process into what you're saying and thinking and being in that vibration of love. But people aren't in love.
Right. Well, before I answer that question, since you spoke about the election, first of all, I'm going to keep it real. The election is rigged. Okay, the elections are not real. So people who want to be going crazy to vote, the Spirit showed me already that, it really doesn't count like you think it does. And so in order for things to truly, the truth now, this is about the truth, is focusing on love just as much, because when you don't have that balance, if there is no balance, then what happens? The pendulum, everything just swings over to the other side. You see what I'm saying? And so the changes that come about in the world is changing within you, within me, within every single one of us. So we start from within ourselves. We start to be the example of love, you see? And that's how the world starts to change, because we have given away our power, at least some people, most people have given away their power. What has been the most powerful thing that's on the planet? Just like the song by Celine Dion, I love referring to music, the power of love. What does love do? It moves mountains. It makes things happen, and this is about how it comes about effortlessly, not doing something. You see what I'm saying? And whenever anything else is going wrong, as one would say, because we're not labeling anything here, and then if all of a sudden there's a breakup or something just separates when it comes to being in love, what happens? Everything, didn't it make you feel like your world just shattered?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, a couple things. Like over the weekend we talked on the last show, I was in such a high state because I had met somebody and and I was felt that love, right? And then all of a sudden, the last 3 days have been such a heartbreak, for a combination of a lot of things, but and it just felt like it just spiraled down, and so
and that was from no contact or any type of communication and connection. And so even when people say, oh, well, it's important to still focus on yourself and keep focusing on yourself. Okay, you focus on yourself and you still focus on who you're in love with, because I'm going to tell you this, I've said it to you, Linda, and I'm saying this to the whole world, whoever is listening. The way to blissfulness, the way to the highest heights that you could ever reach to heaven is being in love, because that's what connects you to God, okay? And that's a fact. Yes. And all of the things that happen in the world is a distraction from those energies, okay? And the energies, because remember, things happen in this world in the seen and the unseen, and that's a fact, okay? Oh, yeah. The unseen is what you don't see. Someone has a negative thought about you, it's something that sends out a wave, right? So then if more of us was focusing on the love, that would send a different type of wave, because we're all energy. And so if anything else that happens that's the opposite of that, because it's either one side or the other, it's either the fear or the love. What do you choose to focus on the most? So if we're focusing on the bills, the people who are killing each other, what's going on in this other country, what's happening here, this one here, everything together. And that's where majority of the world is focused on that, you see? And I'm not saying to ignore what's happening out there. All I'm saying is balance out what you're focusing on, because that's what you're attracting. And more people are attracting what? What are more people attracting?
Same. What's the same? The negative.
Yeah, the negative, the fear, and they stay out of love. And then we fall back into that trap and into all the things that occur. You know, I remember I said to you, Linda, I said I was facing that a major issue with, once again, it has to do with, you know, those energies with my light to get cut off. You know, I talk about it so much in my recordings, right? I mean, it's like as if I get a job there. And it's like, you know, when I finally remembered, I said, oh, my God, I said, you know what, I'm going to focus back on being in love and who I'm in love with. And then all of a sudden, things started to happen. Things started to shift and to change. I said, oh, you know what, that's not going to catch me again. Isn't that what I said, Linda? And isn't that what happened to you, too, when you were, oh, my God, you were feeling so overjoyed in love. And then things started to happen magical for you, right?
Things just fell right into place. Yeah, it was very magical. It was like just everything aligned. Everything aligned. That's right. And that's the part of what we connect to. Well, two things. You know, you talked about being, and it brought up, you know, Mother Teresa saying, if you want peace in the world, it's not going out and protesting. It's being the peace. Exactly. That's how you create the peace. Yeah. So what we're saying,
instead of pro, because people refer to it as pro. You know what they call it, pro, not proactive. I forgot the word. Was it anti? When you're against something, right? So if you're against something, then why are you going to be a part of that? And also, things are changing now on the planet, which is another thing that a lot of people are not waking up to, is that the Earth is ascending. Okay, the Earth is ascending, and that means that we're all going through all the stuff that we have to pull out within ourselves that doesn't serve us. Because when I talk about being in love, I'm not talking about, you know, people who are trying to fool themselves into being and staying in relationships that doesn't serve them, that's toxic relationship. I'm talking about that you're still clearing up things within yourself and you're focusing on love instead of allowing yourself to be attracted or distracted, I should say, from the things that are the opposite to that pulls you away from being able to have that experience. You see? Because there's a difference. So we still got to face ourselves. We still have to face the mirrors. We still have to clear things up. All I'm saying is don't forget about the aspect of also being in love with someone else and bringing that energy together, because that's what it becomes, like an energy. It becomes more powerful with each and every one of us. The more of us that's focused on love and balancing out those energies instead of saying, oh, I don't have time for that. Oh, I can do that all by myself. Or I don't need this, and the name calling and all these things, then that's where you stay in that same wheel over and over again, over and over again.
Yeah, and it's the hamster wheel that you never get out of that hamster wheel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you're in love, that's truly what the true I would call it food, the food for life. Because when you're in love, you look younger, you feel younger. You're much more in your blissfulness. You live off of love. Things start to just work, just like that.
Well,
you see,
you know, and I know we talked about today, and I think just to really go over that, because just the listeners are saying, you know, and I even for myself, it's like, okay, but we have bills to pay, we have rent, we have things, and I know you say that when we focus on love, that all of that goes away, unless someone has really experience that, then it's really hard to choose to say, okay, let me just focus on love when I have my bill that I can't make rent. I'm not saying for me personally, but, you know, I mean, I could be the same thing, that I'm in a situation, too, where it's like, you know, do I get a job, a secondary job? Do I, you know what I mean? So I have to question the same thing, too. And it's like, okay, I can stay in love, but, you know, and I know, like you just said, that love, getting in that vibration, something did occur to where you did get that bill paid. But I mean, for people who listen, they're like, that's easier, that's all well and great, but I mean, it's almost like the word I want to say is lofty. It's like a lofty idea to do that. I mean, I fully agree, but I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people listening, are going to be saying, well, it depends where they're at in their own consciousness. I mean, we're talking
That's
about
true.
waking up here and really what's going on in the world and really being tuned into how we've been programmed from the beginning of time through commercials, through everything, to be suppressed, all the chemical trails, everything that's happening to us, if we focus on something different. And what we're saying is it's all about the love. But a lot of people listening may say, well, I don't know. That's, if I'm not in love and I'm not with somebody, how can I do that?
Well, first of all, like I said, I'm going to keep it real again, is that in order for you to feel, if you want to get to that place, of course, there's a letting go that would have to happen, really. And it becomes a choice. It becomes a conscious choice. And that means that you're letting go of the belief system of what you think you know as well, okay? And that you're really going to come to a place of trust, and you're going to allow things to unfold and to happen, because, as I said before, the way how things really is not based on the doing, it's the being. And that means that you're connecting to spirit, because we are all spirit. It's not the physical body, the physical things. It's like they said, there's a saying that when you allow things to fill up within your soul, then the blessings comes right after. That's where wealth comes in, true wealth, because this is about true wealth and living consciously as far as how that happens and how it is concerned. Say you can have all this money in the world and be so rich, and then what? You lose your soul. You're not going to lose your soul like you're going to disappear. No, it means that you're losing out on the benefit of how much more you can have based on connecting to your soul and to whomever and to God at the same time, to how things can manifest and unfold. I personally have manifested so many things in my life not based on doing. It's based on being, because that's the natural law. That's the natural law. It's a law of attraction. So whatever we want for the world to change, we have to be the change. So, but if we keep focusing on the negative stuff, then we're going to continue to spiral into the same negative stuff. But if you also want to live a life of lies and deception, then you're going to continue to be in that center of lie and deception. But if you want to experience love, true love, blissfulness, wonder, amazement, beauty, that's what you will receive. That's the world that you create, you see? And it's not by... Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's by being that. It's by, we talked about earlier, it has to begin with yourself. There has to be the self-love. And in loving yourself and raising your own vibration, I think it's because it's all, and we talked about that too, is when we are vibrating at a certain frequency, then we are going to attract, because when, as they call it, the perfect causal body of God, where everything, there's an abundance of everything.
Yes.
And so when we reach that frequency, we into source, which is God's spirit, whatever we call that, right?
Yes.
We tap into that.
Right.
So
and that is because, and that's based on the fact that the person is acknowledging and knowing that God exists in that aspect as well.
Exactly. Well, then this goes back to the conscious living of what we've been talking about in the last few shows, that a conscious living is really living consciously, knowing and being in awareness of, oh my gosh, I'm focusing on this. And really, if we, focusing, just think, if no one focused on the elections and everyone took their focus on something completely different, the outcome would be so much different.
If people would stop focusing on wars, slavery, what this one did to that one, and focusing on other people's love lives and focusing on what this one person has or what they look like, and staying in their lane. I talk so much about staying in lanes. It's like when you're supposed to stay in your lane, you don't stay in your lane. And then there's those who stay out of the lane when they choose to not connect to what's happening in other people's lives. It's amazing, truly amazing, you know. And it's like if the focus and the emphasis was placed, so if people were even blasting out there more, oh, let's have a love fest or let's have a, that's not happening. Most of the focus is on other shit that's not working for us. It's not working. It's not, people are going to places to try to look for the answers. They're doing other things to look for the answers and still not realizing the answer is right within. It's like a breath away. It's within you. It's not a place to go. It's not something to do. It's a choice to be and to remember who you are. To remember, what true love is about.
But I think when we, because, you know, the last 3 days of it were very, very difficult for me, and I know for you too. And so it's in those moments, and to rise above that. So for me, I feel that it was crucial and important to be able to release, because I feel that was also as well as a clearing, right, a purging. Because we talked about this too with the energies, and I don't know a lot about that stuff too, and I know you probably know a lot more that. You know, the energies that are happening and stuff like that as as the earth shifts, we're shifting as well because we are connected to that. So she's purging, we're purging. And in order for us to raise in our frequency, we have to be able to clear out what no longer serves us. So if people can shift their perspective to see, oh, this is rising within me to be able to be released, and be able to purge that out and through crying, through anger, or whatever that is. Because I had a lot of a mix of emotions. There was anger, there was crying, there was, you know, all this stuff, and I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, we didn't talk really for 3 days. We were just talking every day. Yeah.
Well, that's the point where, yes. I mean, what you were going through, because you had to be at a place of aloneness so we can pull out and purge out the stuff that doesn't serve us any longer. And that's important because it's like that part that talks about you can't mix the old with the new. And as we continue, we are in the ascension, and that's another thing for people to wake up to know that's what's happening. We are in the ascension time frame. That's what's going on. That is the truth. And a part of that is that a lot of us are probably facing things that may look despairing, like breakups, divorces, moving from your location, a lot of shifts and changing. Anything that's false, that doesn't serve your highest good, is going to just feel like it's falling apart. And one of the things that's important to understand, Linda, which I probably never mentioned to you, is that whenever something is happening through you, it's a matter of pausing, even while you're in the midst of the despair, to understand, instead of when sometimes we dive into fear first with it, like, oh, my God, somebody's doing something, or, oh, like, what did I do, or, oh, I'm being punished, and that's not it. You know, it's like this is necessary to go through the purging process, to face our fears, to face the things that we've experienced, and we're all going through it. There is no exception to anyone, just as some may be feeling it a lot more, like twin flames. You know, it's like we've had to be breaking down timelines, and it's important for people to understand what is happening and to really wake up, once and for all, to wake up and to face what, because it's either you remember and go through all of this while you're in your body, or you will not remember until when you're out of your body. That's a part of awakening too. So either you awaken while you're in your body or not.
Well, I want to go back to ascension so people have an idea, because people maybe they're just listening that are really kind of just diving into spirituality or really kind of knowing what all that is. I don't know what your interpretation is, of ascension, but what my understanding of ascension is, and what I know it to be, is of raising of the consciousness. Not that we're going anywhere, so to speak. It's a raising of our consciousness. It's a raising of our frequency, our thought process. That's really ascension. And I also want to go back into the 3 days because I think it's important because a lot of people are experiencing with the energies, with the planets, with what's going on and all this other stuff, we're purging and doing all this stuff, that when people are facing this, and if we can, get in that vibration and change the world through love and being the love, how do we step out of where we're at, like for the last 3 days, I too, like we talked earlier, you were listening to love music. I turned on love music, which brought in and other music that I heard, that I was listening to when I was dating this one guy, that it brought back all these beautiful and wonderful memories and, things like that. So, I think that's a key when we are experiencing all of this is the tips on how we can rise above out of that, that. And so for me, I think it's listening to music, it's, thinking of a child or going to a sunset or, being out in nature, just getting away and finding something that really brings you joy. That's what I would say.
Well, I'll add to that too. Like how first of all, it starts still again back to your consciousness and your belief. Like for me, whenever I have my low periods, my belief system is I know I'm not going to stay there too long. So I know that my angels and my guides and God, him and herself, is going to help me to get through it, And that means that even if I'm not consciously thinking about how am I going to get through it, something comes towards me. So I listen all the time to when God is talking to me, all the time. So that's for you to pay attention and to be consciously saying to yourself, gee, I'm not going to stay here too long while I'm going through all of this, and I'm trying to stay in love at the same time, okay? So I was guided to put on one of my segments, and it happened to be music playing. So the music, this was 2-3 days ago. So the music was playing, and then it was music from the 70s. Okay, so it was Teddy Pendergrass music and all kind of stuff. And I'm listening to it, and then some of the love music was coming on, and then some music from, I'm from Jamaica, so I have some of the reggae songs from the 70s coming on too. And I was like, oh God, I feel. And so I started to get elevated again. Okay, so I started to get elevated again. And then I started to think about the love of my life, and then I started to feel so good, and I was like, oh, my God, and it raised me up more. Then I unconsciously was led to watching a show yesterday, and I was laughing, and what it did, it just purges and clears, and that's how you do it, to stay back elevated again when you go down, because we can't run away from that. We're going to keep going up and down, as above, so below. We're merging heaven on earth, the spiritual and the physical together. And I want to explain that for others to understand. It's important to understand what's happening now. If you choose to want to wait till 2 months to understand, that's fine. But this is for those who choose to want to know now what's happening. So there's no need to have any fear. But when you allow yourself to understand, then what happens? It makes it easier for what you're experiencing. Right. Okay? And so while you're listening to the love music, I tell you, music from the 60s definitely brings you back to feeling in love again. It really does. It really, truly does. And it really helps to elevate you. Taking warm baths, going out in nature, walking barefoot on the grass wherever you are, if it's nice and warm, to do that. All of these things help while you are going through all of this at the same time. It is a balancing act, Linda. It is. And
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You finish what you're saying.
What came up when you were talking, and I wrote down you can be the victor or the victim. So it's really a choice. And as long as you know that you're choosing to be a victim, there's nothing wrong with that. You've made that choice. Or you can be the victor. And something else I wanted to really say, too, is that I think to have, who's ever listening, is to realize that the programming, I think, is so important to really see how things are being programmed, how history has repeated itself. If we continue to do the same thing over and over and think the same way over and over and get caught up in this whole thing, we are going to stay in the same hamster wheel. We'll just keep spinning around. And the only way to get out of that is to really focus on the love. And when you feel that, with the bills and all of that, and,
it's going to always be there until when the time changes. So it's how do we not allow. And another thing, too, that also is important is that even my own self, I've gotten caught up where I was like, oh, shoot. Because I was feeling sad again and feeling, low or angry or whatever. And then I was like, dang, I got caught up in this bullshit again. I was like, oh, back to love again, because it's so easy to fall back into that again and again and again. And also that,
Mm-hmm.
that working thing, that's another thing too. I know we didn't get to go dive into that, but that working thing, we got to save this one, we got to save that one, and save this one, and people leave themselves out of the equation and so focused on that. And then, what happens? There's burnout, and there's tiredness, and then there's hardly any connecting. And because, the making love thing is also a part of intimacy and connecting to one another. And whenever that's missing, things start to fall apart. I am telling you the truth. That's what happens. But when we are making love and connecting to one another, solutions start to come forth. And if we're all doing it together, like it's like lighting up. I think about that game, where you put in those pegs. I don't remember that game. It's a game from a long time ago.
Operation?
Battleship,
Operation?
and everything just starts to light up. Yes. That's how we are in the universe. We're like, like on a grid. And then as one person is lighted up within themselves and in love, and another one is, that's to me is what should be more contagious is love more than the sorrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I think if people look back absolutely. I think when people look back in their life, and you can look back and see when you have been in that state of love, true love, like really love. Cause, I mean,
yes,
we could just keep having every show about love, because it's like, really, what is love? You know what I mean? And people have it. There's 5 different or 7 different ways of love. You love your sister, you love your brother, and things, whatever, things like that. But I think if people look back, and they can see in their life when they've been vibrating at that level, how things have changed. So that's what I would say is go back and look, at your life and see
if they've ever been in love too.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
To know what it feels like, because it shows. It shows.
Yeah.
There's a glow that comes within you when you're in love. There's a glow. It shows.
Yep. Crazy how time just goes so fast. It's like,
it really does. It really does.
Oh, God.
Well, you see, I get more excited talking about love than, there is a song. I don't know if it's originally, which way it's original, but I know it's sung in reggae, and it says, let's talk about love, okay? Talk about love. Talk about love. Even as I'm saying it right now, as we speak, my heart is like palpitating in a good way, because I get excited. Yeah. You see? Well,
and I think when we hold and we keep having, because whenever we're having conversations about anything, we are sending it out to the universe, right? So it's energy. So
it's an
if
energy.
we're talking about love, and if everybody can continue to talk about the wonderful things in love, and their dreams and all of that, then we can raise that frequency. Absolutely. So.
And I was born in the love month too, anyway. So.
Yes.
That's right, and you can see it in my face too. So.
Yeah,
and if more of us to think about it and just know what there's so much more to look forward to when we balance out that, it's important for you if you choose.
Yeah, absolutely, it's a choice. Well, before we leave, I just want to say something from the movie that I saw last night in Thrive, and this was at the very end, and I thought it was really powerful, and it's a quote, and I don't know who it's by, but it just said at the end, it says, "What you believe is possible is determined by your worldview."
Yes, that's right.
I thought that was really incredible. So it really is important how we view the world, how we view just everything. So
yes.
Thank you guys.
Because if you believe you're in love and you'll be in love, then you will be in love, and everything else will be exactly according to how you believe it.
Yep.
It's true.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. You know the saying says, "I'll believe it when I see it." No, see it and then you believe it.
Yes, and that's how you manifest it right into your reality.
Yes. Yes.
Well, Linda and I send you all the love.
Yes.
And we're excited when every single one of us is on the planet who chooses to be in love, because this is how we will make things happen magically.
Yeah. Love is the key, everybody. So if we can have those conversations about love, and when we're posting on Facebook, post about love, post about just really positive things. Keep the positivity going, and it'll be, it'll just expand and expand. So
expand it. Yes.
Thank you all. Yes.
Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. We will be back next week.
Yep, we sure will. Thanks for all the listeners who joined us today and the ones who will be joining us via YouTube. We thank you so much Please don't forget to follow, subscribe, comment, and like us on our YouTube channel, The Golden Truth Raw and Real, and our Facebook page, The Golden Truth Raw and Real. And if you have any questions or there's a topic that you would really like for us to discuss, please email us at thegoldentruthraw in the letter N as in Nancy, real at gmail.com. So thank you again, everybody. Love you. We'll see you next week.
Love you.
Bye.
Wow.
Bye.
Bye.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Grand Canyon University is Arizona's premier private Christian university, committed to providing next-generation education for students who want to make a difference in the 21st century workforce. GCU offers more than 190 academic programs in high-demand fields across 9 distinct colleges, including our prestigious GCU Honors College. Earn your degree online, in the evening, or on our vibrant Phoenix campus. Fast-track options and academic scholarships still available with no out-of-state tuition. Visit gcu.edu.